Hello everyone, my name is Danica, and you may know me from 3 to a Screen Plays. I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to do a sort of a recap on how the series has gone so far. When we first started, hardly any of us had ever played tabletop RPGs, and we have gotten significantly better in the newer episodes, so I definitely suggest you check those out if you have time. If not, I will recount episodes 1 through 33 for everyone. Not sure how long this video is going to take. I, of course, didn't say all of the details, because that would just be madness, given that every episode is about 3 or 4 hours long. So, let's dive right into the tale of Novis Familia. The story of the adventurers begins in the large city of Tel Freyat, the capital of the western continent. This large circular city houses the castle, a house of nobles, whom all jointly operate within its castle walls. In Tel Freyat, the wealthiest and most powerful live within the inner circle, and the further you travel from its center, the poorer and more destitute it becomes. In a lively little intercity square, the fates of our adventurers become intertwined. Marius Umbra, a Dampier fighter, flirts with a half-orc bar maiden named Catriona. Titus of Gales, the human fighter and sea merchant, scans the wares of the market, and Ishtar, the tiefling bard, plays her lute by the fountain, while a small Aasimar sorceress and dancer, Davina Nenvir, hears this tune and begins dancing with the tiefling, a merging of arts and a flair between two very opposite races. Without warning, an explosion sounded, and at a nearby bank, goblins began escaping from the debris, holding bags of gold. The strange group of individuals joined forces to take down the goblins, but as they do, a gunslinger on a Pegasus flies down to confront the group. General Crata informs the group that there have been a series of issues with the sewer and of goblins and other unsavory creatures trying to attack various parts of the city, and the guard has taken to trying to secure these entrances by sealing them off. He thanks the party for their help and invites the group to dine at the castle. Our adventurers spend time gathering information to little avail, but learning that there is an in-nation fighting between two religious factions, the Gorizins and the Orins. The party accidentally killed an unsuspecting guard, swindled for money, gathered information from a tiefling who also worked at the same bar as Catriona named Eileen, and began to develop their friendship with Catriona, whom Marius invites to the dinner at the castle. Once inside the castle and feasting on the impressive dinner before them, the party meets several nobles, most notably Lady Kafrik, a merfolk who holds command and power over the port and trade within the city and beyond. They also learn that Catriona herself is a noble, working under the guise that she is simply a spy and an intelligence agent, and she is therefore works among the common folk. There is a rumbling within the castle, and Catriona, Crata, and the group inspect what is happening in the storage room, only to find that the floor has been blown in, and enemies begin pouring out. They defeat the enemies, and Crata asks the party to go down and check on what's happened. While our adventurers were only meant to take a peek at the situation, an Otia encounter forces the group further into the sewers, where they ended up taking a week-long excursion to figure out who is attacking the city and why, and also trying to escape with their lives. After some harrowing events, where a few characters almost died, they happened upon a goblin fortress. They were able to fight their way in, but invoking the wrath of the goblins, they also fought and killed a questionably different Otia, and the party found a cask of dwarven ale within, celebrating their victory by becoming insanely drunk. This resulted in Ishtar and Titus becoming wed, despite Ishtar's distrust toward humans. Divina officiated the wedding and gave Titus a magical ring to put on Ishtar's finger, which she had found also among the refuse after destroying the Otia. Marius and Divina shared some important information with one another regarding their parents. Marius, that his mother was dead and that Divina reminded her of him, and Divina, that she had accidentally caused a forest fire and consequently set her village aflame, which resulted in her father's death. Our adventurers continued further into the fortress to find that it was rather expansive. The party continued being pursued and began to feel the strain of their journey in the sewer, running out of potions and food and water. Sneaking into a goblin city, the party found a magical spring of healing water and met a goblin named Ifrit, a very, very old wizard who had created the spring. He saved Marius from the brink of death and gave the party goblin rations and a wand that deals negative energy to heal Marius. Further still into the sewers, the group encountered many goblins and other foes, one of which spoke common. He ran past the party, screaming for help, and the party defeated the dark dancer that was attacking him. His name was Gabi, and while he had a nasty attitude and an unlikable personality, he claimed that he was actually against the other goblins, and that he was endearing enough to take along. The group found themselves sandwiched between a horde of pursuing goblins and an ooze and an otia fighting in another secondary chamber. The adventurers culled the herd of attackers, but were beginning to feel overwhelmed, wondering whether they would ever escape. The otia began crying from the damage it took from the ooze, and Divina offered him food and pleaded for his help until he agreed to help the party. The otia proved to be very helpful, pulling grates off dead ends of the sewer and allowing the party passage. He named himself Boot. The party finally found a maintenance shaft for which to escape from, and with the help of Boot were able to hoist themselves most of the way up the shaft with a pulley system, but had a very difficult time at the top. Boot's arms were shaking as he held the chains, and the entire party on top of the platform. He hoisted Marius and Gabi to the top of the lid of the sewer, and Gabi was able to open 7 of 8 locks before his lockpick broke, and he decided to use a rust monster's antenna to rust the cap off of the sewer. But that ended in catastrophe when Boot's arm gave out from all the weight, and Gabi threw the antenna, hitting Divina, whose now metallic skin had begun to rust away, and she was dying. Boot, enraged with this, threw Gabi into the ceiling, destroying the barrier and killing Gabi in a spray of blood. The party crawled out weakly, happy to see the surface. They returned to the castle, Boot in tow, and were told that everyone had thought the party died. They held a small service in which almost no one attended. The group were permitted to stay in the castle for a short time, and Lady Catriona gifted the party with a series of items: a wedding dinner and breakfast for Ishtar and Titus, a new dancing dress for Divina, and had found the second wedding ring of Marius's parents. She imparted the knowledge to Marius about who his father was, a vampire who was also a noble. While out in the city, the party met a Tengu rogue named Crow, and the men of the group talked the guards into not hauling him off for theft. The boys celebrated and drank, causing a scene, and Crow put his thievery skills to work on the patrons, while the others provided the perfect distraction. The boys were attacked on their way back to the castle by dark creepers. Ishtar, feeling Titus's heart beat through her enchanted ring, ran to their aid. Shortly thereafter, a portal opened, and goblins came from the other side, telling Titus that he needed to journey to a place near Gales called the Chasm, and save his mentor, a goblin leader who was almost like a father to him. The chasm, however, would not be an easy journey, as it was notorious for trapping and killing anyone who dared enter it. Titus and Ishtar shared an emotional but brief goodbye, leaving Ishtar extremely heartbroken. In the morning, the group went to the market and acquired, through rather questionable means, a lotus leshy named Delcian. At some point, he made a wish at a genie's shop that he could speak in common. Ishtar wouldn't have much time to mourn the loss of Titus, though, because that very day a suspicious set of individuals lurked around the castle. It was too late for the party to investigate, as the infiltrators had already planted bombs on the support pillars of the structure, giving everyone inside a limited amount of time to react. The bombs went off in succession, but all of the party members managed to escape in one way or another, saving as many lives as they could as they escaped. While Marius was looking for Catriona, he found assailants in her chamber, clad in dark hoods, covered in fur, and almost looked like some sort of fox or wolf people, but he didn't get a good look. Running to the outer gardens of the castle gates, the party looked on in horror as the castle was seemingly sucked into a singularity, and then bursted with tremendous explosive force. This attack to the castle was the beginning of chaos for Telfrayot, as raids and lootings and riots broke out. The police force of the city had all been resting inside of the castle. They found Catriona, who had been out doing errands. The group was informed that the tiefling Eileen from the tavern might have some ties to this event. When they reached the tavern, there was an angry mob, shouting for the death of Eileen, the tiefling. The party broke in and found him trying to escape. He was in the cellar, starting a fire with papers that contained important information, and the party rushed him out the back door. The angry mob broke in, and because Davina was not aware that there were explosives in the cellar, she tried to divert them to where he was hiding. A grave mistake, as this resulted in the mob dying in the explosion. This weighed greatly on her consciousness, causing her to become quiet and blaming herself for their deaths. The tiefling made a break for it, being chased by the group to a home where Marius, channeling his previous mercenary experience, began threatening the family to get to Eileen. Eileen was once again apprehended, but because of Marius's behavior, Ishtar was upset. The party took him to the outskirts of town, into the slums and abandoned hovels, where Ishtar and Catriona tortured him for information. Eileen died, and the party settled into an inn on the outer layer of the city, which Catriona had connections to. Upon asking Lady Catriona why the assailants were in her room of the castle, she confessed that she was a princess from the north, and that she was gathering information in Telfrayot, but could not tell them why. Night fell, and the group, suspicious of her, followed her in secrecy. She simply went to a bookstore, and at that point Davina and Crow became less wary of her, and parted from Marius and Ishtar. Crow to break into the bookshop, and Davina to go stare at the stars with Boot. Ishtar couldn't shake the feeling that Catriona was up to no good, so she continued following, with Marius not far behind. Lady Catriona, in a trance, weaved through the alleys until she came to a spot and phased into the wall. Ishtar followed her, but began panicking as she was trapped inside a box, and her magical ring was no longer beating. Marius caught up to the ladies, phasing into the wall as well, and helped Ishtar regain her composure, and made their way through the maze to a round room where they found many people chained to the walls. A broken soul attacked them. One of the prisoners turned out to be Diabella, a druid and Ishtar's childhood best friend. She awoke and aided them in the fight, and they won. But the room began to be filled with acid, and they were only able to save a pair of children before fleeing. While the group was gone, Divina had a dream. In her dream, she met a dragon named Kaivamet, who informed her that time was broken and would only get worse unless they could save Islasir, the dragon who was the guardian of the Temple of Time. She woke with a time crystal in her hand. They brought the children to the inn so that they could be watched over. It was revealed by Diabella that the people chained to the walls were from the castle, and that she was a spy within the castle. The party sought healing of an illness, and Ishtar found out that she was pregnant from the doctor. They kept it a secret from the rest of the group. Assassins once again came and tried to attack the children. Catriona speculated that they were gathering the nobles from the castle for some sort of cause. The group remembered that Kefrik, the merfolk noble, had mentioned something about the Gorizons and the Orings, so they decided to sneak aboard her airship, docked at the harbor. Divina and Marius stayed on the dock to create a diversion in case Kefrik returned. Confirming the group's suspicions of her, there were Darkstalkers and other similar creatures aboard the ship guarding her chamber. Kefrik, meanwhile, was returning to the ship, and Divina began dancing to block the harbor with spectators, and Marius acted as a hype man. With an evil smile, Kefrik dropped a small bag into the tip bucket. The rest of the party narrowly escaped in a billowing cloud of smoke, smashing out of the window of the airship, causing a scene. Time suddenly shifted, and they all found themselves standing at the water's edge, Kefrik's ship undamaged, and the party very confused. The only one who remembered the event was Divina, because she had a time crystal. There was a group linked with the Gorizons called the Time Cult, located in a small town called North Lake, several weeks' time from Tel Freyat. They might have knowledge of what happened to Islasir. Catriona suggested that the group go there and find some answers. The bag that Kefrik had dropped into the tip bucket was a problem, however, as it seemed to have a threatening dark magic growing ever more powerful emanating from it. Catriona assumed that it was enchanted to be effective against her, that Kefrik was targeting her. The party decided that they needed to deal with it, and devised a plan to go back into the sewer to Ifrit, who might be able to help them. They were able to convince the goblin guards to let them in, and after they presented Gabi's ear as retribution, as Gabi was a fugitive in their eyes. One of the rewards that was given was perfume, presumably made from Leshy's bodies, because as soon as Marius opened the vial, Delcian, who was once a peaceful pacifist of Leshy, assassinated the general goblin, and the group was able to progress further into the fortress to find Ifrit. Ifrit confirmed that this bag contained a terrifying, powerful entity, and agreed to help them destroy whatever was inside of it. He made preparations. I lost my spot, sorry. However, this battle would prove to be the most difficult. From the bag emerged a very powerful Cyabrae, or a corrupt, evil druid. The fight was grueling, turning Ifrit, Boot, and Ishtar to stone, and killing Grau. The others scraped it out with the Cyabrae, and with a wish, Ifrit brought Grau back to life. They finally killed it, but just barely managed to come out of it alive. It was learned that the Cyabrae was once the mentor to both Lady Catriona and to Diabella. Ifrit began to look old and weary. He aged exponentially and found out the reason that he had lived for hundreds of years. He had a time crystal inside of his body. He promised the group that when he died, he would send the time crystal to them, and they needed to promise to come back and bury his body. The party came back to the surface and determined that they needed to go to North Lake to fix time. They hitched a ride with Divina's old traveling caravan under the alias of Novis Familia, a capable mercenary group spearheaded by Marius. Divina disguised herself as a man named Igo to protect herself from the leader of the caravan, named Ulnam, another Aasimar who had wrecked her family, and was a deep dealer with the underground and the black markets. He had almost killed her. The caravan was now being escorted by twins, Absalin and Absalayan. Absalin was an oracle, leading the group out of harm's way, and Absalayan was a monk who helped his brother and followed his brother wherever he went. Through a series of secret reunions, dreams, time skips, and fights with wyverns along the way, the caravan reached a halfway point called Southvale, a modest trade town with a temple of Calistria, the goddess of lust, pleasure, and revenge. Delcian was no longer with the group. He had left with a human named Frank from the caravan to rescue Belton and Zyga, rat folks who they had encountered and were taken by raven folk to a deadly castle. In Southvale, the group learned more about the Time Cult and about the Great War of the Dragons. The caravan set up a festival for several days. It was also discovered that most of the members of the caravan did not trust Ulnam. Ishtar mentioned her uncertainty about Ulnam to Absalin and Absalayan and suggested that maybe the caravan should do something about him. Crow and Diabella inquired to buy an old building from the mayor of the town with the intention of setting up a brothel there. A deal came through, and everyone went to inspect the property. Crow had stolen a pouch from one of the festival goers, and upon opening it, released a daemon, which affected the minds of many party members, making this a challenging fight. Ishtar saw her husband, and was charmed into kissing and protecting the daemon. Marius saw his mother, and became emotional and protective, and Davina was forced into an anger with everyone and everything. They destroyed the daemon, however, just as they had, Ulnam approached the group and recognized Davina. He appeared to be acting civil, saying that he would finally return the money he had stolen from her years ago. The party determined that they should pick up the money without her to keep her safe in case he tried anything funny. He retrieved the bag and gave it to the party, but as he entered his carriage, he was killed by Absalin and Absalayan, who had read between the lines in Ishtar's proposition. Davina had gotten her money back, but it was enchanted to blow up if she ever touched it, so it was traded and deposited at a bank. After a series of terrible time shifts and time bubbles sprouting up and changing the landscape and making people younger and older in an unpredictable pattern of insane conditions, the party decided they could no longer wait and promised the caravan that they would meet them in North Lake after their duty was fulfilled, to fulfill the contract with the caravan. As they left, a young and injured child ran into town, claiming that his family had been attacked and killed by a monster, a woman who was like a plant monster. The party entered a magical forest on the way to North Lake. The trees and seasons were completely out of whack, and the further they progressed, the denser the forest became. The party heard a voice telling them that they could go no further. It opened a portal and told them to enter, so that they could see the future of the forest. Inside, the land was a complete hellscape. Mighty beasts soared above the ground and crumbled in the dust and ash. All life was dead. So, ruin speckled all around as a storm of fire and lightning continuously rumbled. A massive lava beast rose from a pool of lava and attempted to attack the party, but was plucked from the ground like a rodent by a much larger winged Goliath. The party was then attacked by a demon. The party fought her, during which Davina spotted a charred body nearby and crawled toward it, believing it to be one of the parents of the boy who had been attacked. As the battle ended, Davina spoke with the charred corpse, who seemed to be clinging to life. The group unanimously decided that it should be put out of its misery, but it plucked the knife from Ishtar's hand at the last moment and plunged the dagger into Davina's chest. breaking her time crystal, and her body blipped out of existence. The group ran, heading towards the remains of the bathhouse, when the building collapsed and injured the pregnant Ishtar, a tiefling baby horn sticking out of her side. Diabella confronted Ishtar, telling her that she should not take any more risks. She set to work to heal Ishtar. During that time, Krau's time crystal flashed, and Davina returned in a bright light. Only she seemed to be different. Her hair and her skin color were inverted, and she now brandished a sword and seemed stronger and more confident. She was from an alternate timeline. Diabella and Davina finally healed Ishtar, and the party were sent back to their own time, where they were met by the plant woman creature who had told them to enter the portal in the first place. She offered Ishtar the chance to change her life, get rid of her baby, and start over again. Ishtar was very unsure and conflicted. A time bubble formed over her body, but a new Ishtar was standing in her place, an older Ishtar from the future. The group continued to North Lake, picking up a purple living flame whom Ishtar named Buddy, and the others called Tydet. The party met many strange people who helped them get to North Lake, one of which had slipped a cipher into Ishtar's belongings. It didn't take long for the party to find the time cult, as they were lurking in the first tavern that the party had entered. A man named Bartholomew talked to Ishtar and learned of the return of Radavak, while Diabella posed as one of the members of the time cult, as they were all kitsune. Diabella made her way with Talon, one of the party members, to the time cult's lair, a cave with an ever-changing path through the woods. Bartholomew mentioned a ritual to bring back Radavak, and a ritual to open the gate to the Temple of Time, stating that they needed a worthy vessel to give him a body. Diabella made 3 blood pacts with the cult leader, saying that she would either be the sacrifice herself or that she would make her husband the sacrifice. The party plotted, deciding that Marius would be the best fit. Diabella and Marius followed through with the ritual, and Radavak made home in Marius's body. That night the crew made Radavak very drunk, as he is craving the pleasures of the real world that he hadn't seen in hundreds of years, and therefore it was easy to make him pass out. While the party planned, they needed to get to the Temple of Time and see what happened to Islasir. The next day, the party followed behind Diabella and Radavak as the cult leader, Bartholomew, opened the way to the Temple of Time. The group followed, seeing that the temple was an ever-changing structure in the sky, building and unbuilding, morphing. The columns and windows showed different moments in time, spanning all throughout history. They eventually gained entry to the inner chamber, and within they saw Islasir bound in large enchanted chains, and a small void dragon resting atop the slumbering giant of a dragon. Radavak vacated Marius, taking on Bartholomew's body. The void dragon talked of devouring time in the realm. The hidden part of the body emerged. The hidden part of the party, emerged, and battle ensued between them. Bartholomew and Talon died in the fight. Talon's body was flung into an already damaged pillar, his body disappearing. And from the other side of the pillar, a small, gripply cleric named Topo popped out, terrified and confused. Davina was flung by Boot a little too far, missing the battle, but seeing that the time crystals mounted the enchantment to the dragon were offset, and they could be righted. She saved herself from dying at the last second with a scrap of flying carpet that she had almost forgotten about. Ishtar used bardic performance to reveal a giant rune that was holding Islasir in place. The rest of the group took down the void dragon. They proceeded to put the leaning giant crystals back in their places, which completed the rune and freed Islasir. Kaivamet and Islisir rewarded the party generously, and even offered up 3 ways to fix certain characters' timelines. Ishtar and Divina were offered to change back to what they were before, but both declined. And also Topo was offered to go back to his old time, but because he had come from the past and he had grown up in a monastery and had never left, he said that he wanted to go on an adventure, and he also declined to go back. Crow was offered a wish. He wished to, and I quote, "forget that I had ever met her." And with that, his pendant had disappeared. The party found themselves back in South Vale. The party also learned that Topo was from thousands of years in the past, and that he was very, very young and wanted to go on an adventure. Divina acquired a curious pair of socks, who preferred to be called Super Socks. She wanted to raid Ulnam's home in South Vale, bringing Marius and Crow with her, but upon breaking in they discovered that he was still alive. They killed him, and Divina found a series of letters from her mother that he had intercepted, and learned that her mother was very sick. While in South Vale, they realized they needed to catch up with the caravan, and Ishtar found a rather ominous letter, which she used the cipher to read. It was from Lady Catriona, warning the party that Kefrik was after them, and that they must leave and go to where the skies were not safe. The group determined that they must go to Gales. Surely Kefrik's airship wouldn't stand a chance against the magical gale force surrounding the island. Just as the party was leaving, a gnome wizard named Zempakut, or Zempe for short, approached our wandering travelers and said that he had seen the party in a dream. He was running from his old mentor, a powerful necromancer named Gendor. Zempe had a pipe fox companion with him named Feor, whom had once belonged to Gendor, but the two had fled together. The party once again turned north, at one point being found by Kefrik's airship and almost spotted after the party had accidentally used Buddy to start a forest fire. The party decided that they could no longer bring Boot with him, that he was too loud and too much of a distraction, and Diabella took Boot back to South Vale to live in the brothel, agreeing to rejoin the party in North Lake. The party was ambushed by necrocrafts, terrifying beasts made of limbs and parts of different bodies of creatures. They fought them off, but it had a particular encounter with a woman who proceeded to blow up the battlefield in a tremendous volcanic eruption, or, as she likes to call it, a big boom. Marius, perturbed, sliced the woman in half, and the party pressed on until they decided to set up camp in a clearing. But there was an elven woman named Wiggum sharing the clearing with them. She offered the party to use her pavilion tent. Some of the party members did not trust her, and put an anvil on top of the coffin that she slept in, and proceeded to keep watch. Something was terribly wrong, however, as a magical compounding sleep magic caused the entire group to sleep for 3 months. Upon waking and realizing that they were supposed to meet up with Diabella, the party ran to North Lake, only to discover that she had been apprehended by the Time Cult, and that there was a bounty out for Marius as well. The party raided the cave and rescued Diabella. She had been tortured for 3 months. Diabella and Crow received a letter from their employees of the brothel, informing them that there had been trouble between the brothel and the Church of Calistria, and that they needed help. The two left in the night, but gave the party some belongings and promised to look after Boot. Novis Familia secured a boat to travel to Gales. Eric was the captain of the ship, a ship which had a mast that acted as both a cannon and a jet to make it go faster. They prepared to do battle with an ocean giant, but Ishtar was able to use a bardic performance, a suggestion spell, telling it to go away. From there they saw many giants warring with one another, but sailed through. Through blistering winds, the party finally made it to the beautiful Isle of Gales. a merchant waypoint in the middle of the ocean, and the place where Titus had grown up, and also the place where old Ishtar had lived out her days with her children in the future. The party collected information about the chasm, learning that it was a prison created by the Umbra family, that is, Marius's vampiric family, millennia ago, and that it now functioned as a hellish prison that one could enter, but an extreme few managed to escape. They spoke with a man named Martin, who had been so badly damaged by the chasm that he could only blink a single eye. They discovered that the way to break the seals on the layers was to spill the blood of a friend. There was also a terrible and powerful lich inside. The remainder of the time spent on Gales was visiting the black market for magical goods and the normal market to stock on supplies. They also visited the sheriff's outpost, which stated an incredible sum amount of money to anyone who could rid the chasm of the lich or of any other evil powers or to destroy it altogether. They were given mysterious and strange fortunes by a drunken and old Ripley. The party left Gales on Eric's ship once more to go save Titus and to catch up to Ishtar. Prepared and hopeful as they embarked to the chasm, this was perhaps one of the craziest endeavors they could pursue, with no way of knowing if they would ever return alive. And that should be it. I think you guys are all caught up now on the story. I know that there is a ton that I left out. I mostly just wrote the most important segments of the storyline that I could. And I'm really sorry for the distractions as well. But now, if you guys want to catch up on the series, you are basically all caught up on the important points of the story. And we are really happy that you tuned in. Thank you so much. Feel free to tune in to our newest episodes. We record every Tuesday and hopefully have the episodes up on Thursday. We used to live stream the events, but that ended up just being too many technical difficulties, and and YouTube didn't want to play nice with OBS software, and so we weren't able to make that happen. So now episodes come out every Thursday, right around there. So thank you so much for watching, and we cannot wait to see you all in our future adventures. Also, as a final note, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything that you think that we should do differently, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. And we will see you guys in the next episode.